Kurt 2 dakika bana. Okay. Hello everyone and welcome to another Tuesday evening Kabbalah lesson with Bnei Baruch. Now once again, as every Tuesday, I'd just like to remind you that this is an ongoing every Tuesday night session where we're going over things that we did in the morning lesson. However though, in a few months or so, about 2-3 months, we'll have a new course starting here on this YouTube channel. Again, it'll be around this time zone. So if you're interested, you can also sign up for that if you like, or you can just, without signing up, you can just watch it as well. If you're new to the YouTube page and if you're interested in understanding what the wisdom of Kabbalah is, there are a lot of videos on this page from previous semesters where we did semester 1, 2, and 3. So you can watch those. However, these excerpts that we're going to be reading today and what we generally read on Tuesday evenings is, like I always say, is not for beginners. These are for students who've taken the courses and who are already studying with us. Okay, so if you just popped by and you're new, just be warned that this is not the beginner stuff. All right, so we're going to carry on with excerpts from the sources, and connecting into 110 is going to be our topic today, and we're going to read from the excerpts that we read this week regarding this topic. So if you were in the morning lessons, you probably know about them. If not, it'll be good to go over them now. It's actually, although I'm in the morning lesson every day, it really I feel that it's really good when I'm going over all these things as well. It really helps me as well. So if you're in the morning lesson as well, going over them again with us here is not such a bad thing at all. I find it quite good that I'm actually going over the stuff, chewing the material once again. So we're going to read the first excerpt. That's Rabash, article number 10. What's the degree one should achieve in order not to have to reincarnate? Okay, so that's a nice topic. What do we have to do in order not to reincarnate again? I think that's really interesting to know. I mean, who'd want to come back here again? Okay, so let's see what he's saying. We have to know that all of the souls extend from the soul of Adam Harishon. For after he sinned in the sin of the tree of knowledge, his soul divided into 600,000 souls. This means that the one light that Adam Harishon had, which the Holy Zohar called Ze'era Eleah, which is the upper brightness, which he had in the Garden of Eden at once, spreads into numerous pieces. So let's read that again from the article. What is the degree one should achieve in order not to have to reincarnate? So basically this is talking about the first time that the soul was initially created. So the creator first created this prototype called Adam Harishon, the first man, right? Adam Harishon means the first man. So he was the first soul. So when we're talking about Adam Harishon, the first man, obviously we're not talking about a protein body or our physical appearance. We're talking about a prototype, a soul, which was first created. And he was created with an attainment of the creator. So he had the sensation of the creator. However, though, he did a little boo-boo called the sin of the tree of knowledge. And his soul divided into 600,000 souls. In short, you know the story probably, that he was thrown out of heaven for eating from the apple, all right, apple tree. However, although that's a nice romantic story, it obviously isn't in reality what it sounds like. This concept of the soul, Adam Harishon as a soul, and it being created initially as perceiving the creator, and then having to lose that perception, allows the soul, in fact, allows all of us, because we're all parts of that soul, allows all of us to rebuild that perception of reality, that state where we can actually feel our existence with the creator from a non-perceptive level at all. So in our world, in our reality, the creator is completely concealed. We don't feel the creator at all. So on top of that, what we have to do now is to build that perfect reality by ourselves. And this is actually a blessing in disguise, despite the fact that we have a lot of suffering in the world. It is a blessing because this is how a person can actually achieve building his or her spiritual reality. And by doing so, he or she becomes an absolute, how should I say it? Well, an absolute perfect being. The reason being is that once you build your own perfection, you become actually like the creator. Just like the creator created reality out of nothing, you, by building your spirituality, are actually creating something out of nothing, just like the creator. So you're actually attaining the attributes of the creator and his thought at the same time. So you're really elevating yourself to the pinnacle of creation, to the level of the creator, which is actually what heaven means, right? So in religions, heaven, tends to have all kinds of different perceived fantasies about it, but heaven and the Garden of Eden and so forth, when they're talking about it, they're actually talking about a level of perception or a level of existence, let's call it, where you exist like the creator, like in full control of the full reality. So hopefully we'll get there. All right. And once we get there, we don't have to come back to this reality, which is actually good news. Let's carry on with the second excerpt. Bala Sulam's article, 600,000 souls. It is said that there are 600,000 souls, and each soul divides into several sparks. We must understand how it is possible for the spiritual to divide, since initially only one soul was created, the soul of Adam Harishon. In my opinion, this is Bala Sulam writing, obviously it's not my opinion, it's Bala Sulam's opinion, it's his article. In my opinion, there is indeed only one soul in the world, as it is written in Genesis, and breathed into his nostrils the soul of life. That same soul exists in all the children of Israel, complete in each and every one, as in Adam Harishon, since the spiritual is indivisible and cannot be cut, which is rather a trait of corporeal things. Rather, saying that there are 600,000 souls and sparks of souls appears as though it is divided by the force of the body of each person. In other words, first the body divides and completely denies him of the radiance of the soul, and by the force of the Torah and the mitzvah, the commandment, the body is cleansed, and to the extent of its cleansing, the common soul shines on him. So Baal Shem is also reinstating that there is only one soul and we're all part of it. Now, when he says the children of Israel, he's obviously not talking about people who live in Israel or who belong to a religion or whatever. Sons of Israel or children of Israel means anyone who's directed him or herself towards the creator. All right, so this could be anyone from China to Timbuktu. It doesn't matter. As long as you have this dot in the heart, which we talked about before, and if you're directing yourself to attain the attribute of the creator, which is bestowal, and love and bestowal, actually, both of them together. Love is the attribute and bestowal is the action of that attribute. If you want to attain that and to be like the Creator, then you're called children of Israel. So Israelites are generally called the group. So a Kabbalistic group is normally called Israel because they're all a group of people who directed themselves towards the Creator. So don't get it confused with religion, country, or nationality. That is irrelevant. Okay. So once a person then inside the group, when he's working inside the group, is able to connect with other people, that connection happens with the dots in the heart. And once that connection happens with the dots in the heart, then actually what we actually see is a new perception of reality, where a person can actually elevate him or herself to that new level of existence. And that is the purpose of life while we are living here. Unlike religions, the wisdom of Kabbalah says, no, you have to attain everything while you live here. So the whole purpose of this world being created and us living in this perception is because we have to attain a higher level of reality before we end up dead physically in this world, all right, in this reality. And that is what we must do by, what does it say here? By cleansing ourselves. Well, cleansing ourselves means actually turning our egoism into bestowal. So what we want to do is we want to first discover the depth of our egoism to understand how much our egoism is causing us grief. And on top of that, what we want to do then is, obviously, if we see something causing us grief, we want to run away from it, right? We don't want to be using it. Once we understand that this is bad and we move away from using it, then what actually happens is we can then kind of dissect ourselves from that attribute, not use it, and add on top of that this new attribute called love and bestowal, which obviously comes through the study. So a person who's studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, who's constantly working on himself or herself to elevate to a new level, begins to understand the difference between what's good and bad, and then can make a conscious decision on what to do about it. And wherever he can't do it, obviously he or she needs to incorporate what we call a prayer. A prayer isn't like a prayer what people do on the outside when they go to some kind of a religious place and they pray for whatever they want. No, a prayer means an initial desire inside a person, which one develops into a complete vessel where one wants to change, right? And that's called a prayer, not something that I do with my lips. So it's not a lip service on a holy day or whatever. So a person is actually developing the desire to change because of the understanding of how our nature is causing us grief, right? How our nature is actually suffocating us. And this is actually what we can see in the world today. Right? So if you look at the world today, you can see that we're actually suffocating ourselves in this reality because think about it for a moment. We're running around after all kinds of things. And what happens afterwards is just simply, we just get confused with this life, and we're constantly causing harm to ourselves, to others, and to the planet. So we're the only species on the planet who destroys the planet they live on. I mean, if somebody was observing us from space, they'd think we'd all gone nuts. And the truth of the matter is, our nature is crazy. It is absolutely crazy. It is just mad. Okay, so the world is heading towards madness, from one level of madness to the next level of madness. And this madness will soon bring us to the understanding that we cannot carry on living like savages, like this wild savages, sick savages. All right. So we have to accordingly change that egoistic nature into an altruistic one, which will allow us to elevate ourselves to spirituality. And then we've got a question from David. Was Adam Harishon married to Eve Harishon? That's a good question. Is that from the story? Okay, we've been reading this story. Eve is actually a part of Adam, right? So Adam is, well, the reason why he's getting kicked out of heaven, right, is Eve. But Eve is a part of Adam. Eve is his next desire to receive pleasure. So it's not like It's not like we depict in this world like a man and a woman, but in spirituality, these are states. So Adam was initially created in a pure state, so without any defects, right? So because of that, he could actually sense and feel the Creator. But what does the Creator have to do in order to give him the understanding of what is good and what is bad? So what he did was created Eve, but Eve is a sensation inside a person. So this new level of desire appears in Adam. That's called Eve. And that new course, this new desire to receive, wants to get something for itself. Okay. Now, initially, when they did the sin, okay, it wasn't with a bad intention. They wanted to do good. All right. However, though, they didn't understand what is good and what is bad. So that's how the whole shattering of Adam Harishon, or the breaking of the soul of Adam, or Adam getting kicked out of heaven, came about. But it's not like a man and a woman that we need to depict to ourselves in this life. All right, it's just not related at all. It's a good thing you asked that. Is the division into 600,000 souls the same as the Big Bang? Well, the Big Bang is actually, according to what scientists say, there was a Big Bang, but in the creation, the initial creation of the desire to receive is called the Big Bang, because there was nothing before it like it in creation. So this whole Big Bang issue is when the Creator created the whole of reality from nothing, and the Creator created it as a desire to receive. So everything started from that little spark. We can actually also see the explanation, or read the explanation of this in the 4 phases of direct light, when the whole thing started just from a black dot, and from there the whole thing expanded. So that's called the Big Bang, if we can say that. In terms of trying to give it a corporeal explanation for better comprehension. If we can say that, we can say that. But the division of the soul is not yet, because the whole of reality is the desire to receive. So the breaking of the soul of Adam Harishon is the breaking comes afterwards, after the process of the desire to receive being created, advancing, and then man gets created, and then that process happens afterwards. Okay, cool. So let's carry on. Oh, there's another question from Patricia. Is cremation forbidden in Kabbalah? I don't know. It's a good question. Look, in Kabbalah, we don't really care about what people do to the body, all right? But according to tradition, you know what they say, you came from dust and you will go to dust. Apparently, that's how things are in tradition. So, in terms of cremation, a person can accidentally die in a fire as well. So our body and how it dies doesn't have anything to do with our soul or spirituality. So let's get that sorted out first. A lot of people relate the body to spirituality, or have this understanding or belief, mostly from religions, because they've been taught wrong, that the soul exists inside our body. But that's not actually true, because soul means a different way of perceiving reality, and it's completely disconnected from the body. So there's no real actually connection between the soul and the body. So however the body dies is really irrelevant from a spiritual perspective. And a person, like I said, can also, God forbid, end up dead in an accident and get burned to death or whatever. But tradition is from dust to dust, as they say. Okay. And the wisdom of Kabbalah doesn't really engage in corporeal things. The wisdom of Kabbalah is only engaging in the relationship between me, reality, and the creator of reality. And that has really nothing to do with our corporeal way of living or corporeal religion or what we eat, what we do physically or whatever. The whole thing is basically designed upon a person's relationship with the creator. So the soul reality is just a tool for us to build that relationship, and the wisdom of Kabbalah doesn't really deal with anything else. Okay, it's a good thing you guys are asking these questions. It's really clarifying it all for us. Let's do this. Okay, let's do number 3. Okay, so number 3, the body with its organs are one. The whole of the body exchanges thoughts and sensations with each of its organs. For example, if the whole body thinks that a certain organ should serve it and please it, this organ immediately knows that thought and provides the contemplated pleasure. Although if an organ thinks and feels that the place it is in is narrow, the rest of the body immediately knows that thought and sensation and moves it to a comfortable place. However, should an organ be cut off from the body, they become two separate entities. The rest of the body no longer knows the need of the separated organ, and the organ no longer knows the thoughts of the body to serve it and to benefit it. But if a physician came and reconnected the organ to the body as before, the organ would once again know the thoughts and needs of the rest of the body. And the rest of the body would once again know the need of the organ. Now, why is Baal Islam explaining this whole thing like an allegory? Well, this is an allegory of a physical body, right? Now, in corporeality, we have a physical body, but in spirituality, like I said before, our soul and our body is really disconnected. There's really no connection between both of them. But we're talking about one soul here. And since everybody is part of one soul, everybody feels, although we should all be connected and feeling connected, we don't. We all feel separate, right? I feel me, you feel yourself. And as far as we're concerned, it's me and the rest of the world, or the rest of humanity, or whatever. So we don't really feel that connection. So Baal Islam here is just writing it as an allegory, saying, listen, just like the body feels the whole body, and the whole body understands every part of that body, with that one soul, that one system should also be the same. So even though we don't feel it that way, even though we don't feel like we are one soul, we're all connected in one system, in one reality, we don't feel that happening. However, though, Baal Islam says, well, this is just like a body. So if we don't have that sensation, we're actually living completely disconnected. This is why our lives are also a chaos as well. So we can't really get our lives sorted out until we fix this connection between everyone. Until we do that, life will just be dramatic. Okay, number 4. All right, so once again, do not draw yourselves to thinking about the corporeal body. He's just giving us an example here, all right? Number 4. There's not an organ in a man's body that does not have a corresponding creation in the world. This is so because as man's body divides into organs, and they all stand degree over degree, established one on top of the other, and are all one body, similarly the world, meaning all creations in the world, are many organs standing one atop of the other, and they are all one body. So all of us are all connected in that spiritual sense. Now, our bodies are separate and separated because our body also means in spirituality, in the wisdom of Kabbalah, obviously, when I'm talking about spirituality, the body means the desire to receive. So as long as I'm living in my desire to receive for myself, I'm only feeling my own body. Now, the purpose of creation is to be connected to everything, because only then can I have full comprehension, full perception, and full perfection when I'm just connected to everything, to everyone, to whole of reality. That makes me exist like the Creator. And that's our goal. So what we have to do, obviously, is in these bodies, we feel completely disconnected and we feel by ourselves on our own. and we don't feel like we have a connection with anybody else, even our family ties. I mean, if you think about it, it's just biological. Most of the times, a lot of people break up. Kids don't understand their parents. Parents don't understand the kids. I mean, we're actually disconnected. Life is bringing us to such a state that, we don't even feel like we're connected to our parents. It brings the new generation to such understandings that, everybody's just completely disconnected. So here also, what we have to do is to build that connection. From complete disconnection, we have to start putting together the connection between us. And that's why we always study in a group, so that we can actually start to build some kind of a connection that will bring us out of ourself, out of our thought for ourselves, and to kind of push us and guide us towards thinking about others. Because the more I begin to think about others, then what happens is I begin to step outside of myself. And that is actually that new sensation that we're looking for. Right, a sensation that is outside of our body, because everything we feel is felt in the body. This is why all our senses, they're all receiving inside the body, right? So I hear sounds. My ears are taking it inside. My eyes are taking everything inside. I'm breathing in, I'm tasting in, I'm eating. So everything, all my senses and, the body is just purely functioning on receiving everything. And this is why I only have, because of this fact, I only have a narrow life. So by exiting myself, I can actually allow myself to feel a whole new different reality, which exists outside of our sensations. This is why the soul is that sixth sense, something disconnected from the body. It's not related to the body, but you can actually build it. And by building it, you can then perceive a new reality while you're living in this world, right? That's the whole idea. Number 5. Okay, are there any questions, by the way? Okay, not yet. Okay. Number 5. The sign for the body's complete correction is when one feels that one's soul exists in the whole of Israel. Now that means when we're all connected. So the group, for example, if you're working in a 10, your 10 is Israel, right? Obviously, it's not talking about the country of Israel. It's not talking about a bunch of Israelis with an Israeli passport. A group of people who direct themselves to love and bestow, they're called the group. They're Israel. So if we all connect, if we all unite, then that soul, that sensation exists among us. Why? Because all of us have a dot in the heart. And sensation of spirituality is in between those dots in the heart. In each and every one of them, for which he does not feel himself as an individual, for one depends on the other. So when we get to that kind of situation, we actually feel the others instead of feeling just ourselves. And that actually opens up the whole, new perception, like opening up the floodgates, if you like. At that time, he is complete, flawless, and the soul truly shines on him in its fullest power as it appeared in Adam Harishon. So this is also how we attain spirituality. By coming out of ourselves and entering that new perception, we actually begin to feel the initial state where we were created in perfection, right? Remember when we read about Adam Harishon being created in perfection, and then him losing that perfection, and him losing the perfection is obviously needed, because then what he has is a spark, an initial, let's say, memory, right, of that perfection, which is called the dot in the heart. And from that memory, he can then, by studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, on top of the dot in the heart, rebuild perfection. And this time do it himself, instead of the Creator doing it for him. Number 6. Okay. Let's take a look at number 6. The root of all the souls above is regarded as thousands, and there all the souls are one. However, when they are drawn downwards, it is impossible to draw them unless by dividing thousands and hundreds. Then each and every soul is drawn down to its place, to the body that belongs to it. And all of man's work is to draw upon himself the light from above downwards, from the quality of thousands of hundreds, the quality of 100, and it is all in order to reveal his truthness. So all our separation, disconnectedness that we have, is the reason for the population, right? So if there is one soul, why isn't it just one person, but 8 billion on the planet? Well, simply because we have a lot of qualities, and every person actually represents a quality from the soul. So this is why everybody in life is very, very, very important, because everybody is actually completing the whole picture. So as we build spirituality, what happens is we begin to build and see and discover all the details in creation. This is why there's so many people, and this is why we're all different, right? Everybody's face is different, personality is different, DNA is different. We're just different, and there's a good reason for that. This is how we complete each other. So creation was not created so that we could compete with each other, but we'd actually complete each other. This is why everybody has different talents as well. We're not all meant to be the same. We're not all meant to think alike. We're meant to complement each other so that we can fill each other's gaps. And that way we can reach perfection. Okay, let's see what we've got. So David's asking, am I Adam Harishon and all people are inside of me? Yeah, we can all say that. All of us are a mini model of Adam Harishon. What we have to do, though, integrate everybody else, connect everybody else to ourselves in order to feel that sensation. Because imagine, okay, think of it this way, right? Imagine being born in an apartment and growing up there and never leaving the apartment, right? Let's say they brought you your food, they took care of you, and you never left the apartment, right? So you have nothing really to develop with. So why? Because you're not in touch with other people. How do we develop? We develop in society, right? So this is what makes us really, wise, smart, because we're interacting with the environment, right? So if I wasn't doing that, I wouldn't really develop well. So same here as well. We're all a part of one soul, but everybody feels that one soulness as if he is that soul. Why? Because of that connectedness. This is why he gave the body example. The body feels when there's a discomfort. So even if my, pinky finger has a little pain right at the edge of it, the whole body is kind of aware that there's some discomfort there. So this whole perfection within the body and within the soul are quite parallel. So we can just draw conclusions, but obviously the soul and the body are not related, but we can draw conclusions. So just like our body wants to feel perfection, the soul also wants to do that. And how can that be? That can be with all the parts of the body being connected in a healthy way. That's when we feel like we are one soul. Isoke is asking, in connecting with the 10 during a descent, how do we receive from the 10 as an action of bestowal? Okay, let's see. Let me just read that again if I understood it correctly. In connecting with the 10 during a descent, how do we receive from the 10 as an action of bestowal? What is the center of the 10 and how does one aim oneself or oneself's intention towards that well? So these are both from Isoke. Let's start with that first question. In connection with the 10 during a descent, how do we receive from the 10 as an action of bestowal? Look, if I want to receive something from the 10, I've got to be integrated into the 10. And if I'm going through a descent, we have to understand what a descent is, right? Sometimes people think that me having a bad day in my corporeal life is a descent. Okay, that's not a descent. Descent is when I'm trying to connect with the friends and I absolutely have no urge to it. And I just don't want to connect with anyone. Really, I'm just not interested. I just don't want to go there. I just don't want it. That's called a descent. So what do I need to do? Well, first of all, I should have a study framework for myself, right? So that framework should kind of keep me going to the lessons. It should keep me going to the activities with the 10. And what I need to do once I get into the 10 is I have to nullify myself. I cannot receive anything from the friends. I can't get any strength from the friends if I don't nullify myself. Why? Nullifying myself means that I'm giving importance to others before myself. If I wasn't to do that, I'd be stuck in my descent forever, never getting out of it. This is why people get depressed, right? Once they go down the line of depression, that's it, they get stuck in there. So how do they get taken out of depression? Well, they start taking medication, but that won't actually bring you out of depression at all. What will take a person out of depression is to do things for other people. So if you think about it, this is the same kind of thing that we go through in a descent, because a descent means that I'm just not willing to do this work. I just don't want to do it. So in order for me to get out of it, I've got to integrate myself and include myself in the others. And from working and from doing things against my nature, despite the fact that I don't want to do it, I just make some effort to do it, that will snap me out of it. A lot of the times, the way I got out of a descent was to drag my feet along to the gathering of friends on Sunday, especially when we have these gathering of friends on Sunday before the pandemic, right? So we all used to go to the center, and it was just a pain in the neck to go there, and I was just like, I just don't want to go there. I just don't want to do it. Just don't want to go. All right. So I used to just, drag my feet along, and the minute I got there, I'd just snap out of it, and it was just a whole different vibe. All right. So it's this initial thing that the person has to do, just this little effort to stick your head in there. And once you do, you get snapped out of it. That's the important thing, because the Creator is just waiting for you to do one little exertion, one little effort, just throw one little step, and He kind of fixes up the rest. So I went through those so many times that you begin to understand you have to go to the group, because that's how you snap out of it. Okay. David's asking, do we all share the same root of the soul? Well, everybody's root of the soul is different, all right? Because we all have a dot in the heart. So everybody's got their own dot in the heart, but we're all parts of that one general soul, and everybody needs to take their place in that soul. What is the center of the 10, and how does one aim oneself or intention towards that, is what Isoke is asking. That comes with the study, Isoke. It just comes with the study. Obviously, the purpose of the study is to change ourselves, right? The purpose of the study is to come to the attribute of love and bestowal. So every time we want to do something, whether it's getting up for the morning lesson, or whether it's taking part in the gathering of friends, or a meal, or whatever you're doing with the friends there, right? So no matter what we're doing, we're trying to keep this intention that the reason I'm doing this is so that we can come to spirituality and attain the purpose of life. So that constant remembrance that I have to do is necessary. And as you know, also, as we study and as we participate and do more and more and more, what happens is we attract the light that reforms. So in that way, a person can actually begin to develop, because really the study helps us a lot. And when we try to apply it with the friends as well, that's also really good. And then you get kind of left in between discernments, right? You're like a bit blurry of what's going on. But the important thing is, when you study more and more and more, as it becomes this routine of study and you're trying to apply everything you've learned, this thing called intention becomes clearer along the way. So you start with whatever you can, and as the days go by, that intention will just get sharper and sharper and sharper until you like, bang, know what you want. It's going to take a bit of time, obviously, right? So, but the center of the group, the center of the 10, is our common intention and desire to attain the purpose of life, which is to bestow to the Creator. Kevin's asking, our 10 has not come across any differences, but other 10s have. Does that mean that we're not connecting or annulling properly? Well, it just might mean that you need to add a bit more to the work, because if I'm not feeling anything in the 10, if I'm not going through changes in the 10, right, it means I've got to do something. I've got to add something. I have to do something additional to the situation. I either have to tighten up my framework, you know, I don't know, just have to add something to the work. Because I tell you why, if I get into this routine, right, and this routine is carrying on and on and on, but I'm not going through inner discernments, that's a problem. Because a good study should really take you through a lot of ups and downs. That's like good study. So see how you're going with your frameworks. Maybe you guys need to add something here and there, because it shouldn't come, you know, it shouldn't turn into this routine like a religious thing. You know, in religions, they pray a few times a day or whatever they do, and it becomes a routine. Then they just do it like a robot. With us, it should never be like that. With us, I should always be thinking about why I'm doing it, what I want from this, and so on. So I should be in this routine all the time of thinking, what do I want? What do I need? Why am I doing this? Thinking about the friends, listening to the lesson, coming to the lesson during the day, listening again, thinking about it, and all these kind of things. So I should be, you know, like really chewing it in order for me to go through all these sensations. So in the 10, you know, you need to enliven something up. You need to awaken up something. Issake is asking again. If I'm in a descent and I need help, how do I receive help from the 10? This is, like I said, you need to like stick your head in there. It's like if you need help in corporeality as well, right? What do you have to do? You have to ask someone, don't you? You need to say, listen, I need help, guys. How are they going to know if I don't stick my head in there? So if I'm in a descent, I need to go in there. I need to talk to the friends. I need to say, listen, guys, you know, I need help. I need support. Can you think about me? Can you pray for me? All these kind of things. A 10 should really be, it should be like a family, you know, really, it should be much tighter than a family, in fact, so that everybody's like kind of covering everybody. So if somebody is like in a descent, he or she, you know, he should speak to the guys immediately. You know, we should think about you, and, you know, the 10 should think about you. And you also obviously have to get your head in there. It's not going to happen if a person doesn't participate, obviously, right? In corporeality is like that as well. Imagine me trying to be a football player and I'm never turning up to the practices, or I'm never coming to training. So how's that going to work out? It's not going to work out. So same with spirituality. If I want to advance, I need to get in there. I need to stick my head in there. The guys need to see me. And if I am going through dramas, the guys need to know about it so they can pray for me. There's no other way. It needs to be, you know, everybody needs to complement one another. Everybody needs to hang on to the group. And only this way can a person get out of the center. Also, we shouldn't get this corporeal life and the negative things that happen in corporeality mixed up with what a descent is, right? I mentioned this before today, but just to underline it, because a lot of students, especially when they're new, when they go through, you know, corporeal life's desires, then they kind of think, oh, I'm going through a descent and I feel bad and all that. But there's nothing to really feel. There's nothing to really take from corporeal reality into our study. The only time we feel bad is, a descent in spirituality is like when, when we're just not interested in spirituality. We're studying it, but we don't want to go there. We don't want to do it. We're not interested. We don't want to connect with the friends. We don't want to bestow. We don't want to love anyone. I just don't want to do this. That is a descent for us in spirituality. All right, so don't get that mixed up. All you got to do is stick your head in the group. There is no other way. And also see if you can tighten up your framework. So, for example, let's say you're coming 3 times a week to the morning lesson. See if you can make that, 4. See if you can put the gear up 1, and see how you go. All right, because in order for us to get out of stuff, we need to just put a little bit more effort into stuff. Patricia's asking, is there some in Kabbalah who make it to the center faster than others? Well, everything depends on the exertion of a friend, right? Everything depends on your exertion. In life, the same thing. So if I want to lose weight, I can train once a week, or I can train 3 times a week, or I can say I'm going to train 3 times a week and I'm going to stick to a decent diet. All right, because I can train all I want, but if I'm not, eating right, that's not going to work out. So everything depends on my sacrifice, really, doesn't it? So I train more and I sacrifice more from what I eat, then, it becomes worthwhile. I see results. Same in spirituality. If I want to see results, I've got to put some backbone into it and put some effort in there. And the more I put effort into it, the more valuable my impressions will be. Because I'll tell you why. Because the effort will allow you to get more discernments that are rich. You'll enrich your discernments. This is why I also answered Kevin a minute ago. He said, what if we're not going through anything? Well, if you're not going through anything, it's the problem. In the wisdom of Kabbalah, if I don't have problems, it's a problem. Because problems are the only way we grow. This is also true for corporeal reality. Imagine how many problems a person has to overcome in order to be successful in anything, whether it's business, whether it's being an artist, whether it's being an athlete or whatever, it doesn't matter. You just have to overcome so many obstacles to be really, really good. So same in the wisdom of Kabbalah as well. So if you don't have dramas, if you don't have all this, ups and downs and ups and downs, then, you're not really adding discernment to yourself. It's like a kid growing up. They've got to add, to themselves that meat and flesh and start growing up. And same here, if we don't add discernments, we're not really growing up. Okay. And the only way to do that is through exertion. I got to make some effort for myself. Okay. So that looks like the questions for now. Let's just read one more and then we'll call it a night. Number 7. One who truly wants to serve the Creator must include himself with all creations, connect himself with all the souls, include himself with them, and they with him. That is, you should leave for yourself only what is needed for connecting to divinity, so to speak. This requires closeness, and many people, for the more people serve the Creator, the more the light of the divinity appears to them. For this reason, one must include himself with all the people and with all creations and raise everything to their root, to the correction of divinity, so to speak. So once again, this is what we've got to do. We've got to stick our heads in the group so we can get all these discernments from within the friends. Imagine living on your own, like I said, in the apartment, right? Or even on a mountaintop, right? Let's say you had enough of this world and you said, I'm just going to go on a mountaintop and live on my own. Imagine doing that. You'll get a lot of peace and quiet, but you won't really develop anything, not at the human level anyway, because human level means I'm going through emotions, and those emotions can only occur between people. So stroking my cat is not the same as the emotions we go through when we have a partner or when we have a spouse. Why? Because the interaction there is much different, right? It's at a higher level. So there are more ups and downs in that. There are more discernments in that, rather than me having some relationship with nature or my pets or animals or whatever. So in order for us to develop at the human level, we've got to make sure that we're interacting at the human level. All right, so it's very, very important. This is why we need to work and study in the group all the time, so that I can get more feedback. And this actually allows me to discover what my character, what my personality, what all my traits are, what my egoism is, what my desires are. So I can then really see and feel what I truly am. And then by understanding that my egoism is causing me harm, I can voluntarily want to leave my current nature. Right? And that's why this interaction is important, so I can begin to really understand and decipher myself and my nature. Rightio then. So Tuesday night, we'll call it a night here. I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. We'll meet up again next week and hope to see you all then. In the interim, have a great week until next Tuesday. Bye-bye.